What's up, this is Jake with Hike 734, and I'm really excited to finally tell you about this project that I've been working on. As you know, a lot of people email me and ask me, what should I do when I go to Glacier National Park? If you only have one day or you've never been to the park before, my recommendation almost always is you have to drive going to the Sun Road. It's so incredible coming from the wet, undergrowth, dense west side and going up to the Alpine and over the Continental Divide and then going over to the east side. And it's super fantastic. It gives you a really great overview of the park and just a really great sampling. And you can see waterfalls, and usually you can see animals and just the big mountains and all that kind of stuff. And so I was working on this project trying to think of how can I go ahead and help people, because I'm answering the same question over and over and over, and there's not anything out there that really kind of says, I'm driving going to the Sun Road, how can I make that drive be awesome? And also when I was on my honeymoon down in Maui, there's a road over there called Road Tahana, for those of you that aren't familiar, and it's just this really cool road that hugs the north shore of Maui. And a lot of people drive it, and it's kind of the going to the Sun Road of Maui. And I was driving it as a tourist, and I had a couple of different materials that were helpful in some ways and not helpful in another. So I decided I should put together a guide that would really help me out if this was my first time. So I've come out with this guide. It's called the Going to the Sun Road Driving Guide. And I'm just really excited about it, and I'll just tell you about it. So here's the little cover for it. And on the other side of it, I talk a little bit about going to the Sun Road and, why it's great and all that stuff. And then how to use this guide. And this is a really important section because this thing might be a little bit different than what you've used before. Because when you open up this thing, it's kind of the secret sauce of what this guide is all about. Because it tells you not only where you should stop along the road, but the order that you should stop. And I think that's really the key part, because going to the Sun Road, as you're driving it, certain peaks get lit up at certain times. Like Heaven's Peak should be, if you are going to take a really great picture, it should be done more in the morning. And Wild Goose Island also needs to be done in the morning. Also, another thing is Logan Pass gets really, really full. So it's important to hit some of these things earlier in the day than later in the day. So what this does is it kind of goes through and says, stop here, then stop here, then stop here, then stop here. And I have literally driven every single and pulled over at every single stop along the road. And I basically found the ones that I thought were the most awesome, and I put them on the guide. So I think this will be really great. And this will take up an entire day, and it will be super fantastic. And the other fun part is the backside, because I love maps, and I love the intuitiveness that a map gives. I just love the visualization. And so with this, we have the backside, and it's this hand-drawn map that I did. And I'll just tell you a few features about it. One of them is I drew out all the peaks, kind of representative of how you're going to actually see them. If you're, driving, and when you get to the loop, this is what Heaven's Peak looks like from the loop. Those kinds of things. So you as you're driving along, you can actually use this as a pretty close guide to figure out what peak you're actually looking at. The other thing is, I drew out some animals that are fun. The bighorn sheep are actually located where I almost always see bighorn sheep when I'm at Logan Pass. And you usually see mountain goats when you're at Logan Pass as well. So I tried to put a couple of the animals where I think that you'd have a really good chance of seeing them. Also, I drew out all of the buildings that you're going to come across on going to the Sun Road. The Logan Pass Visitor Center and a few of those things, because it's just really cool. And I think it's really just a fun thing. So I'm going to also be printing this out on the synthetic paper that you have with like the National Geographic, their Trails Illustrated map, because I wanted something that was durable, that you could go ahead and, especially for the local people when you have family in town, you can go ahead and give it to them instead of something that just gets used and then thrown away. So I'm hoping that people will be able to use this with a little bit more longevity. And also if it's, drizzling or something like that, it doesn't all of a sudden just become a big old mess. I also, what I've done as well, because there's no mile markers, so it's really hard to know where the stops are, I put in odometer readings for both directions. So if you're starting at Logan, or at the west entrance, you actually reset your odometer and you follow these little green parallelograms all the way up and over. And when you're coming from St. Mary's side, you reset your odometer again and you start following it that way. So I really tried to give you a handful of different ways you can actually see where you need to be stopped and all that kind of stuff. And I'm working with my printer right now to go ahead and get these things. We're just hashing out a couple of the little tiny details and making sure that things are spelled right and all that kind of stuff. And so from now until I actually have them on my doorstep, on my site, I'm going to be selling them for $7. Now they're normally going to be $9.95 in stores and on my website and all that stuff. But from now until when I get them at my doorstep, they're going to be $7. So that might be in a week, it might be in 2 weeks, it might be 3 weeks. If you want to gamble, feel free to. But if you want to get it and you want to save a couple bucks, go ahead and pick it up now. And for those that are subscribed to my mailing list, in a day or so, I'm going to go ahead and send out an email. That way I can give you guys a little chance if you're not. So if you're not part of my mailing list, subscribe, and then I'll give you a little coupon code in the mail or in your email. So anyways, that's pretty much it. This is my Going to the Sun Road driving guide. It's got my fantastic kind of the guide side. I'm calling these map guides because one side it's a map with all the goodness that comes with a map, and the other side it's a guide with all the intuitiveness, but it's not overwhelming, and it's really built specifically so you can go ahead and have a really, really fantastic trip over Going to the Sun Road, so you can get better pictures, you can find better parking spots, and all that kind of stuff. So anyways, hope you're able to check it out. Hope you get it and you love it and you have a fantastic trip at Glacier National Park. So anyways, this is the Going to the Sun Road driving guide, and I'm Jake with Hike 734.